for this particular top, the making is not as simple as the overall outlook looks, so I'm just here to show some of those intricate details that is involved in the making of this top. So with that being said, guys, you're welcome to yet another tutorial video. In case you're seeing my face for the first time, my name is Chinyere Chichi for short, and if you're a returning subscriber, I love you. So like I said earlier on, in this tutorial we're going to be cutting and sewing this particular top. I'm going to be showing us every detail that is involved in, especially the cutting of this top. Also, at the end of the day, it depends on what you want the overall look to come out looking like. But for this one, I had both of them. I had the one with the mesh net attached on it, just like this one, and I also have the one that came out plain, just like you can also see on your screen. So the thing is, the base of the dress is the same. It all depends on the extra attachment you want to add to it. So it can come out looking like this or like this. It all depends on your choice. So if this one is the one you're interested in, sit right back, relax, enjoy watching, and please don't forget to subscribe. Also give this video a like, and then finally let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. So without further ado, let's dive right into the tutorial. To get started, you have to fold the fabric into 4 places, but first of all, you fold into 2 like so. So here is the first fold, which is into 2 folds, and then the second fold. So at the end, we have a total of 4 folds, for the making of this top. So after we've gotten that, we measure this part, which is the width of the fabric. So I have here to be 26 or 27 inches. And then for the length, I'm using the length of about 32 inches because it's going to be a long top, not a dress. So from that point, just like you do for your peplum cutting, I place my staple at the tip like so, and then I measure around the 32 inches. Then by the time I get up to this point, that's the edge of the fabric, I do not need up to that 32 because this is going to be the sleeve area. So I connect all the points together. So after the connection, I come out to mark out all my vertical points, which are the breast points, which is here, the under bust, and then the full front length, that's the half waist length. So here is the under bust, and then here is the half waist length. So we have the breast point, the under bust, and then the half waist length. Next, I mark out the neck width, which is 3 inches, and then I mark the shoulder measurement divided by 2, even though I won't be using that. And then where the sleeve is going to, the length of the sleeve. So from the center back to where you want the sleeve to terminate on your arm, you mark that. So I'm using 24 inches. These 3 points are going to be connected together. But before that, let's mark out the neck depth. I'm using 2 inches. That's for the front and back at this point. So I connect that, and then I come down to this point by 3.5 inches. I mark that upward, and then I'm going to be connecting that to the base of the neckline. So I have that connected, and then I come down to the vertical points to extend them outward like so. So the breast points, the under bust, and the half waist, I connect them, and then I extend this point down to meet the curve at the lower part of the dress. So at this point, at the under bust area, I'm going to be coming in by 4 inches, and then I connect from this point all the way down like so. So from this sleeve area across the 4 inches and then down to the length of the top. The next step is going to take care of the closure of the armpit area when you raise up your hand to avoid the exposure of the armpit area. So to get that done, you now come to this breast point area and the under bust. So in between that, you just get the midpoint of those 2 points, and then from that point, you are going to be marking the bust measurement divided by 4. Okay, so you mark that out. So this is the bust measurement divided by 4 plus about 1.5 inch seam allowance. So you get that point marked out, and using a slant straight line, you connect it to the under bust like so. So this is the connection. So at this point, this is where you're going to be stitching to cover up the armpit area by the time you are stitching your dress or your top. Okay, so this is what it looks like, and then this is the time for me to cut out the part that I already marked out. So you cut along the marked out points. Please endeavor to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Give this video a like. So after I've done cutting, this is what it looks like. I open it up, and this is what I have. So at this point, you can see I just take out the front from the back so that I can extend the neck depth of the front like so. So I have that cut out. This is the depth of the neckline for the front. So from this point, I pick up this point that I marked out I'm going to be stitching, and I have it ironed. This is to enable the the reflection of the points on both sides of the top. So as you can see, so I have to measure from this point to this point to know what I have, so that I can have it marked out on the other side that I didn't chalk initially. So that gave me 8.5, and then I have that marked out. So I'm going to be stitching along those two parts. Let's get into the stitching process. So for the stitching, I had to use this other one because by the time I finished the other one, I didn't record, so I had to use another fabric, you know, to continue the stitching process. So like you remember, I had this point marked out and I have it ironed. I'm going to be doing exactly the same thing to this one so that I can have both points reflected on both sides of my fabric. So I fold over once again, I have it ironed, and then I open up, and then at this point I'm going to be marking out the other points on the second side of the fabric. So I have the points marked out. So at that point that I have marked out on both sides, the next thing, I make sure I measure in between to make sure I have the accurate bust measurement divided by 4. So I get the second part of the fabric, which is the back part, and then I stitch along this part. So this point I am done stitching the shoulder line area, and this is what it looks like. So you open it up carefully. So before we proceed with this point, the next thing is to hem or weave the outer part of the top. If you're going to be hemming it, this is what you do. You just open up, fold it into two small bits like so, and then you have it hemmed all around, or you have it weaved. But in this case I have mine weaved. So the next thing to do ordinarily is to close up this part, which is the final step. But before you do that, if you have any design you want to do on the front part or the back part, make sure you have that done before you close up that area, so that you don't find it extremely difficult to do anything. Just like I did to the wind one, I had the mesh net placed on it before I closed up this point. Okay, so make sure you have everything done before you close up. So for this one, I'm going to be closing up this part because I'm not doing anything to it. But for the wind one, by the time I'm done with this one, we'll come back and then I'll show you how I attach the mesh net on the wine. So for this one, I am done with, you know, for this top as far as I'm concerned. I have that side closed up, and then this top is ready 100% to be worn. Okay, so for the wine top, let me show you how I came up with the mesh placing on the wine top. So this is the mesh cutting. I have it all ironed out. I have about 30 inches of this mesh net. So I have it all ironed out, because by the time you're done, you won't have, you know, the privilege of ironing it again, you know. So I have it folded, trimmed, and then I placed on my table and I started cutting out the desired length that I want. I think for this one I used about 8 inches, 8 inches all through for the length of the mesh net. So I cut as many as I want. As a matter of fact, I exhausted all the 30 yards of the mesh that I have. So I cut and cut until I exhausted everything. So by the time I'm done cutting, this is not even all, but this is just some of what it looks like by the time I am done. I have this one until I had everything that I needed. So let's proceed to the placement. So for the placement, for the body of the top, I have it marked out. You know, I have the length to be 8 inches, so I used about 7 inches in between each layer. So I have the first layer already sewn around the neckline area. So after that, I marked 7 inches from that neckline, from the first layer, and then 7 inches downward. I have it marked out all around the top, and then I started placing the second layer on it. So I placed the first, second, I think I have about 4 layers in all. And then after the placement, it came out very heavy. I'm not even going to lie. I can imagine 30 yards of a mesh net on just a top. It came out really heavy, but that's what, you know, the style wants, and I gave it to it. So this is how the stitching goes. I trimmed all the edges out. I placed all around layers by layer, and then I continued until I exhausted all, you know, the spaces I had on the top. Guys, this was time consuming, and you have to be patient for you to do this part. If you know you don't have this strength, just go and do the simple one. That's the other one I did, guys. So at this point, I kept on placing and placing and placing until I had everything placed on the top. And at the end of the day, I liked what it looked like. I think I prefer it to the simple one. I don't mind. For me, I prefer it. It gave it a very gorgeous look at the end of the day. So this was how I continued. Let's just see what the finishing looks like, because I don't know, this took a long time. So let's see what the finished look is, and then at the end of the day, this is what we have. Very beautiful. Thank you for watching. Bye.